Welcome in Science and Magic. My name is Amanda Helen. I'm so happy to have you here. And today we're going to be talking about grit and hard work and discipline and focus. And it's a little bit opposite or different than what I normally speak about. I am kind of known for talking about ease and flow and working deliciously and feminine energy. So this will have a bit more of a masculine quality, but I think it has really good information because when we're so interested in ease and flow, we can tip almost too far over into that realm. And I think there's a ton of merit and there's a ton of value in hard work. Now, many of you who follow me are high achievers. I'm known for working with high achievers, high performers, workaholics. So this will feel more native to you than some of my other content, but we're going to talk about kind of like the reasons behind the agitation of discipline, the reasons why it takes discipline to achieve a goal. It'll be really exciting. I'm going to offer science, and this is also the second of a three video series that I'm doing called "It's Not Always Easy." And this was spurred by, myself, I've been working with ease, and if you pull up my website, you're going to see right away that I'm all about bringing ease into life, into work, into relationships, and I still love it. Don't get me wrong. But I think I have started to repeat, it gets to be easy. I want this to be easy, ease, ease, ease. And I don't quite know how that fits in certain scenarios of life. So the first video was when life moves through you. So I gave the examples of a butterfly or a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, as well as my birth story and pregnancy, and how, yes, let it be smooth, let it be easier, but it wasn't easy to give birth. For example, there's inherent tension in a seed pushing through the topsoil to become a blossom. And we explored this as in, rather than go for ease, which is comfort, when something's inherently not comfortable, how can we let it be smooth and not make it any more difficult than it has to be by thinking about it in a certain way or ruminating certain belief systems in our mind? So that's what we explored in the first video. I will link that below in the description. This video is called when you push life. So the first one is when life moves through you. This is when you push life. So when you decide you want something and you go for it and you use your will to get it. We're going to talk about that. Again, it's more normal in our society in the Western world, right? Of just like going for the thing, getting the thing. And then the next video is going to be when life gets tough. So this is when scenarios that are inevitably a part of the human experience present themselves to us. This is deaths, this is trauma, this is tragedy, and how to work with the nervous system. Again, not so it's easy. We're not aiming for ease, for comfort, because actually discomfort can be okay. We're going to reframe stress, and then we'll talk about what to do in the nervous system to surrender to the discomfort so that we're not making it harder by resisting. So, welcome in. So happy to have you. And the whole purpose of this is to explore grit, to explore a lack of comfort, to explore will, to explore agitation, to explore pushing through, to explore shadow emotions like grief and anger and jealousy. And rather than push against them, to actually surrender into them. That's easeful. Now, it's not comfortable, so it's not easy, but there's an easeful way to approach these periods of life. As a society, I think we're overbalanced towards experiencing discomfort in many ways, specifically with work. One of my expertise areas is working with clients to help them approach their work in a more delicious way. And I find that we have a lot of coding that success is inherently tied to hard work and discomfort. And I want to be really clear that this video does not aim to press that message forth, to propel that philosophy. But it's also designed to, if you're someone who always is seeking flow, always is seeking the high feelings in order to work and you feel stuck, this might help. This content really might help you find a balance because it's a dance. You need this grit, this more masculine energy, this overcoming energy, this persevering energy. And then you also need the ability to rest, to flow, to move into intuition, and to open up to the possibility that perhaps you can find success in a way that's easeful and comfortable, that both truths exist. So even though I'm zoning in on the more common narrative for this video, my work still holds so much space to counteract that is the more common narrative, if that makes sense. Hi, Ashley, here from Universe Guru. Therefore, I know you'll be very knowledgeable. Oh, welcome. I love Mina from the Universe Guru. She is a teacher of mine. So I'm so happy that you're here from her channel. Okay. I think that's all I want to say about that. I also want to acknowledge that the science that I share in this video will be inspired from the work of Dr. Andrew Huberman. If you haven't listened to his podcast, he's incredible. He has a wealth of knowledge, very science-based. So if you want more information like this, definitely go check out his channel. And please, if you receive value from this, like this video. If you're someone who follows my work a lot and is receiving value, the more likes each video gets, the more the algorithm shows that video to other potential subscribers, and the more my content can reach people who would resonate. So it's a really easy way for you to support the work that I'm doing. Thank you so much. So I want to say that when we start a project, there's probably going to be some agitation associated with it. And this is a really important thing to understand, because if we're always looking for things to only be easy, we might miss out on the ease associated with creating something. So it's like starting the running. It takes a little bit more energy to start, and then you're running and it's a bit easier. The early states of doing something neurologically most often will be associated with confusion, agitation, or overwhelm. We're going to talk a little bit about neuroplasticity. So we have a brain that's wired, our brain's in their skull, and it's wired in trillions of different ways by billions of neurons. So you have these little cells, and they all link up in all these different ways to form what's called neural networks. And those neural networks are wired according to our life experience, towards what we learn, the experiences that we have, and they have a lot to do with how we're taking in the information around us and then how we're responding to that information. Much of our brain is wired in childhood, but the cool thing about the brain is that it can always be rewired. It's not like, oh, I have this set neural pathway and it's going to be there for the rest of my life, and no neural pathway can be created that can counteract that or be added as a both and of that. This is called neuroplasticity. It's the ability of the brain to always wire. The brain is plastic. It's not stuck. It's not like an artifact. It is a truly living substance. And I think that's just so amazing. So we might just start by feeling into the brains inside of the skulls we have right now. Like, we can so often talk about body parts as if it's outside of us on a diagram or something very logical. But as I'm talking now, see if you can sense your brain, and the fact that your brain right now is like a galaxy of beautiful neural connections that are firing as I speak. And each one of you who are watching this is having a completely different experience of me. Isn't that wild? Each of you is having completely different experience of me. You're seeing me in your own way, according to how your brain is wired. So when we rewire the brain, or when we add new neural networks, this is when we want to learn a new skill. So let's say we want to learn a new language, or you become a parent. I'm a new mother. Many of you know that. So my brain has been going through massive rewiring to be able to tend to my little one. Um, if you want to start a business, if you want to leave your business and go work for a company, if you want to do a career change, anything that's new that you want to acquire is going to take your brain to rewire. And the key to starting something new is to intensely focus on it. Focus is very, very important. And I think this is so interesting because we live in a society where it's very hard to focus. Like, even you could have, you could be writing an email and you have a zillion tabs open on your computer, or you have your phone screen turned on and you might have your ringer turned off, but you see that someone sent you a message. Or, a lot of, I think the lack of focus comes with the technological world, but focus is really, really important. I also, before I continue, I'm curious what you all, if you all who are tuning in right now, if you're starting something new and if you're stuck or if you're doing okay, or if you're becoming something new, like in a new relationship or becoming a parent or you move to a new place. So I'm just curious about kind of the energy of change that is in this group who's tuning in live right now. And then if you're watching the replay, you can share with me in the comments too. So what happens when we focus is there's a neurotransmitter that's released called acetylcholine. And this is released at the neural pathways that are associated with that task. So if you're learning the skill set of a new language and you sit down and you study and you really focus, you don't let anything else get in the way, and you like have an hour of quality time, like in the library or in a quiet room, and you intake that information, acetylcholine will release at those exact the neural network, the neural pathway associated with that language to mark it for change. It doesn't change yet. It doesn't rewire yet. Get when it rewires. When you sleep, when you rest. So here's the part where rest is really important. We can learn all these new skill sets throughout our day. We can learn how to YouTube, how to podcast. We can be intaking all this information from YouTube. I know a lot of you are YouTube users, so you really enjoy watching videos and learning new things. You could be taking a class. You could be whatever it is, and intaking all this information. And you could be really focused when you're doing it, but then you don't get deep rest. Well, those pathways don't change. So it's really, really important to know that the neuroplasticity is marked through the focus on that skill, but that it rewires when you rest at night. So get your sleep, my loves. Now, the circuits that turn on before we focus, before you zone in, are neuroepinephrine, adrenaline. And I thought this was so interesting. So it's adrenaline secreted in the brain and in the body to put the body on a state of alert. It's warming the body up. It's like you go to the gym, you warm up, and then you do your hardcore workout. The brain needs to be in a state of alertness. The body needs to be alert to learn a new skill. Now, what happens is that alertness can be associated with the feeling of stress because it's the same hormone that's associated with the stress response. Isn't that interesting? My inability to focus actually comes from others opposed to technology or my environment. For example, my mother-in-law is a pertinent negative part of my life. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, and if is she in the environment directly around you? Is it that sort of focus, or is it the focus of your ruminating thoughts? That's interesting, right? We can lose focus because many of us are in our minds ruminating over stories. And that's why much of my work is about getting into the body and into sensation and away from story. I've always wanted to start my own business, but I feel so stuck and have no clue where to start. and it fills me with a lot of stress and sadness. So it sounds like you have a big picture, Jessica, like a big idea of what you want. And we're going to get to how to start moving on that path. So you're in the right place. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited to share some of this next information with you because I think it's going to help. And as much as you can with the stress and the sadness, I mean, you can let it be there for sure. Feel the feelings. Also remind yourself that you're safe, and also remind yourself that some of this agitation is the beginning stages. And that's one of the takeaways I would intend for, you all to get from this, is that agitation is a part of this beginning stage. I will tell you, I had this in my YouTube channel as well. When I launched my YouTube channel, actually, Mina Irfan, the Universe Guru, is the one who I wanted to start a podcast, and I did. But she said to me, you should start a YouTube channel. And I was so nervous to have my video, like it's very different audio, and I get a lot of compliments on my voice, but to video yourself is this whole another learning curve. And I had a lot of resistance to it. And she just encouraged me to film my first 10. And you know what? I did it. And I will tell you, it was not easy for me in the early stages. And I used to have to like prepare so much for it. And I used to get so nervous, but I showed up anyways. Now, that was the first. I would pre-record them, then upload them. So I had to like pre-record, I'd edit, I'd upload. It was this whole thing. Now I live stream, and I love live streaming, but going from pre-recorded to live stream was a whole thing, because that's even scarier because you can't edit it, and it's just a different energy. But I did it. I made sure to show up. I moved through the agitation, and now I feel like I'm in a flow when I live stream. I might get a little nervous before still. That's normal for me, but my neural pathways have been marked to allow me to do this with way more ease than I did before. Now I'm finding the flow. Now I'm finding the joy, but I did have to push through agitation to get here. And that's the reality of this. I'm not saying this is the case for every single person. There might be someone who's like waiting for ease and flow to go live on YouTube, and they find it within 2 weeks and they go on YouTube and it's easeful. But it was not my experience. And there's some science behind this. And I just wanted to offer that science to all of you in case you're waiting for easy and you're not getting easy and then you feel stuck. Sometimes this is a behavior before thinking approach. A lot of times in the self-development world, in my work too, I work with my clients to help them visualize what they want before they get that thing. This approach is throw yourself into the behavior and let the behavior rewire your brain and change your body state. A good example, like very literal of this, would be, going to the gym. You can visualize yourself at the gym, and there is a degree of doing that that's going to change your neural pathways, right? We're visualizing, and there's been studies that have been done that have shown that visualizing skills like playing the piano or lifting muscles can actually have an effect on your physical body. So that would work. You could also go to the gym, just start, even though you don't have those neural pathways, feel the agitation because of that, and then let your brain rewire and build the muscle a little faster and feel good. Like, this is about changing your behavior, and then your embodiment and your mood changes. Not waiting for your mood to change to do the behavior, but letting the behavior change your mood. I hope that makes sense. Kabibi, oh, never got the chance to say thank you on your earlier lives with the tips for us to soften and lighten up. Those phrases are still on pink Post-it notes in my mirror. Thank you so much for the super chat, Kabibi. Actually, I want to tell you, you're my first super chat. So thank you. Many of you know my channel was recently monetized. So I'm just starting to get paid from YouTube. And part of that monetization is they open up your channel for super chats. So this is a really exciting moment for me. And I just want to soak it in and say thank you so much. I so appreciate you. And you are very welcome for those videos. I am so happy to have your energy here. Did you do any practices to dissolve the resistance to posting videos, or did you simply gradually adapt? No practices to dissolve the resistance. I just showed up. I did it despite the resistance. I said, you know what? I'm choosing this. And it's funny because I remember I was in one of Mina's coaching containers and I was getting a pain in my neck. Like my neck was, it was funny that my resistance was becoming physical, it felt like my body, I was manifesting this pain, so I couldn't show up. And Mina was just like, you just have to do it. You have to do it. And I didn't wait for the resistance to go away. I did it despite. And some of this means not letting things, waiting for things to be perfect too. So not waiting for them to be in alignment, not waiting for them to be perfect, just doing it and trusting the process. It's like taking a step on the path, like getting into motion, doing something. Okay, where was I in this? Got on a little kick. So we talked about the agitation that before you do something new, you're going to have a stress response. You're going to have adrenaline. Think of it as alertness. So if that happens, if you start to feel like a little agitation, a little overwhelm, you can say, good. Hi. If you start to feel your heart beating, if you start to feel some tension, you can say, okay, I'm on the right path. My body's on alertness and it's in the process of starting something new, starting to rewire. Then you focus. You focus in on that thing. For me, close the door, wrote my script at the time. I have notes now. I don't write a script anymore, but I had to do that in the beginning because I was so nervous. I needed something to rely on. And I guess I'm using YouTube for this video as an example, but you can apply this to any sort of new thing you want to do. So I sat down, I wrote my script, I shut the door. Um, I turned my phone like so that I wouldn't see new notifications. And I did it. I loved, like, I have a candle lit right here. I had a cup of tea, like I made my environment really cozy. And then I focused. And over and over, I think I have 120 videos now. And that's what I've done every single time. And it's gotten easier and easier and easier. And I'll tell you what, this is one of my favorite things to do now. So I hope this gives you all some hope in whatever initiative or change that you would like to will into existence that may not be moving through you, or maybe it is moving through you, but you have that resistance and you need will to push through. That's possible too. So the next thing to note is that scientific studies show that urgency does matter, that these circuits have been designed to be associated with a sense of need. And that makes sense because these circuits, I think, have been designed to help us survive, to learn a new skill set to survive. So this is why deadlines work really well. Like, let's say you are someone who wanted to start a business, and let's say there was a deadline associated with that. Like, you have to start, if you start this business by this date, you'll get $100,000 to support your business. But you have to come up with the concept, the website, the social media channels, and your avatar client. I bet you that you would start your business. Do you know what I mean? So if there's a deadline, like, this is why for me too, I usually create something right before I go live or right before I teach. I have learned that I don't see it as procrastination. I see it as I'm getting into the flow, and I trust that process now. But definitely having like the live stream scheduled, or having the course scheduled, it gives me this sense of urgency and need to move through the discomfort and do the thing. And in the case of starting my YouTube channel, I had the accountability of working with my coach, Mina, at the time. And that was a sense of urgency or need because I knew the next session that I would be accountable to her. She would say, where's the channel? Now, it's not this huge sense of need, right? Because I could have just shied away and not done it. But that helps. And that is a neurological aspect of this. This is how our circuits were designed. So you might consider, where's the energy of urgency or need in relation to the thing that you want to will into existence? main takeaway here is you truly are not in the wrong if you aren't in a state of flow when you're doing something new. I cannot emphasize this enough because in the self-development world, and I'm sure I've said it too, that you want to be in a high vibration state when you're doing anything. Yes. And we have this biology that's not that. That's not quite how the brain rewires. So it's a both and situation. And I think I've heard, I have friends actually, and have had clients and I've heard over and over again, like I have this dream or I know I'm supposed to do this or, but they're waiting for it to be easy. And it's never easy. So they just don't do it. And then the world misses out on what they could bring. And I don't want that to happen for all of you. I just don't want that to happen. So I hope this information is helpful for you. Just remember, sometimes it's hard to just start. And that's just a part of our biology. Yes, I've been manifesting chronic fatigue from being stuck. I'm so sorry. And regressing into an illness lifestyle made it even worse. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I wonder, so if you're in chronic fatigue and you're tired, this is going to be so hard. But what's the next step? Like, how can you mobilize your body despite? This is will. I'm not saying this is easy. This video is not about it being easy, but you propel yourself out of that fatigue and you do one thing. We're going to talk about the compounding effect in a little bit. Habibi. Ooh, this is good. Love the theoretical deadline idea in order to place urgency to actually do the thing you're stuck on. Thank you. You're so welcome. And this can be hard because if there is no urgency, like let's say that you're fully provided for, but you have a business idea that you want to launch, but you don't need to because you don't need the money. So it sits in dreamland and that's really fun, right? It just sits in vision, but it's always a vision because there's never an urgency. There's never a need to get it up and do it. Or like you have an idea for a class or a presentation, but rather than, if it's on your YouTube channel or your podcast, there's no urgency or deadline. But let's say you're invited by a company to give a workshop or presentation, that's urgency and deadline because it's like, okay, I'm going to be in front of these people and this company's hiring me or inviting me to their workplace to give this presentation. That's urgency. So do you see how if there isn't that tension, that things can draw out and that the neural pathways in our brains won't wire as quickly, if at all, to be honest. You can spend your whole life, and many people do, having an idea for something, but never acting on it because they're scared of that agitation or they think it's wrong because the manifestation world is all about high vibrations. Jessica, this is really helpful, like super helpful. Wow. I love self-help. Mina was my first self-help online coach I discovered, but my only doing something that feels good hasn't always resonated with me. Yeah. And it's a really important message because I mean, pleasure activism is really important, right? Like feeling good in our bodies, especially as women, is radical and important. And working while we feel good is a beautiful energy to put into the world. But only looking for the good feelings, in my opinion, has caused a suppression of the shadows. And I see in my clients, and I have felt this in myself, that then once the stuff that feels icky or uncomfortable comes up, you start to feel wrong. And it's not wrong. It's a part of the human experience. And it's beautiful and it's sacred and it deserves to be held and loved in tandem with the goodness. It's the winters and the summers. So it can be really unnerving if you're feeling agitation or fear on your path to creating a business when you have the idea that it should be from joy and flow. I hope that makes sense. Okay, the other part of this is that the neurotransmitter dopamine, I'm sure we've all heard of dopamine, it's the pleasure chemical in the brain, releases and it keeps you going. So this is really cool. We think of dopamine as the end reward for something like You get a prize and you get dopamine. You get praised, you get dopamine. You get likes on Instagram, you get dopamine. But actually, dopamine is there to propel you to keep moving forward on your path towards your goal. I'm going to give an example for this. It's also important to note that if that norepinephrine, that adrenaline, that agitation that starts the brain, that warms it up to learn something new, if it gets too high, those levels in the body, you'll quit. The body will just shut down. Dopamine plays a role in this because it lowers the epinephrine levels again. It lowers the adrenaline levels. So when we instill dopamine, which is pleasure, which is reward, which is goodness, into this process of efforting and hard work, it makes it sustainable. The example would be, let's say that a lioness is resting in the middle of a grassy field, and she starts to feel hunger. She experiences that hunger as agitation. So this is desire. She's hungry. Okay, her stomach starts to grumble, but she starts to get agitated. So the body releases what? Adrenaline to get her up and moving. My baby, when my baby's hungry, starts to feel agitated. My baby doesn't know necessarily that he's hungry, but he starts to cry. He starts to get a stress response. Okay, same thing happens. It's like when we want something new, and it's a mobilization, not bad, just energy. And then the lion starts to maneuver, starts to move, and starts to sniff her prey. So she starts to see, I don't even know, what do lions eat? Maybe tell me in the chat. I don't know. I was going to give an example of an animal, but I don't even know. But the lioness sees, so smells the animal, first of all, gets a hit of dopamine. So neuroadrenaline's causing the lioness to move, and then she smells her prey. She gets a little boost of dopamine. The neuroadrenaline goes down just a little bit to keep her on her path. She keeps moving. She sees the prey with her eyes, zones and focuses. Then the prey dashes behind a bush. Then she gets another hit of dopamine, letting her know she's on the right path. She keeps going until she eventually finds the prey and then has the prey. So in this, she learns skill sets. Maybe she learns that there's other, prey in that area. So she learns the path to that area, or maybe she learns what this animal looks like. But the neural pathways are marked because of the focus she was able to give, the combination of focus, so that's the acetylcholine, the walking on the path, the momentum, which is the adrenaline, and then the dopamine. So when you hit milestones on your path, this is an important part of the process. So there is a bit of pleasure in this. This would be the feeling I get after I post my video. It's like, amazing. For me, every video I post feels like an investment. Like YouTube feels different than other social media platforms because the videos stay current in a lot of ways. So it just feels like a timeless space, and that really excites me. And every time I post a video, I'm like, I feel like I get a dopamine hit, right? And then maybe another dopamine hit would be several hours later, I log on and I see your beautiful comments. I'm like, oh, I love my community here, and I get a dopamine hit. And then I see that my channel has grown, dopamine hit. But I wasn't feeling that when I pressed play on the live stream, especially in the beginning days. So I hope this is resonating. Success in any endeavor is associated with how much focus you can put towards that thing. Are you all focusing? Reflection questions to pair with this content would be, what are you waiting for flow and ease to start in your life? So what are you waiting for flow and ease? Where are you shying away from agitation? The next question would be, where are you lacking focus? Like, what's getting in the way of you focusing? Is it your technology habits? Is it the environment you're in? Do you need to go work somewhere else? Is it your ruminating thoughts? Like, what's causing a lack of focus in your life? I think it was actually Dr. Andrew Huberman who said that I think it was him, locks his cell phone in a safe when he's writing. Like, that's how intense cell phone addictions are, but like he puts it in a safe because he knows how important it is to focus. So that's a really powerful reflection. What is getting in the way of your rest? So we know that deep rest is associated with actually rewiring those neural pathways that have been marked during the day. So the line S at the end of that path rests, and then her brain rewires. So are you resting, especially the first half of sleep, like 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.? That chunk is really important for deep sleep. So are you getting sleep? What's getting in the way of that? And now another really powerful reflection could be, what's your big picture? So in the example of your business, what are the little milestones that you need to start taking the steps towards that business? That could be sitting down and creating, like brainstorming the name. I think the business names come from a state of flow, most likely, but you can start the process by just like setting aside 15 minutes to just start the subconscious mind by writing down ideas, like any sort of words that come to your mind. Or looking at, let's say you want to start a website. Okay, log into Squarespace or WordPress and create an account and just start, or reach out to the web designer to start that project. Or let's say, yeah, create the handle for the Instagram account. So these are really small steps, but write down all the action steps needed to walk you towards the path, your prey, in the example of the lioness. What are all the small markers, the small milestones? And some of them might be big milestones because let's say the website gets designed and launched. That's a huge milestone. Let's say filing for your LLC. That's a smaller one. It's like, it's pretty easy to do. Opening up a QuickBooks account so that you have a space for your money to flow, a business bank account. All these little tangible steps will help you move forward in your creating the business. You're taking the steps, you're doing the right thing. Then we want the reward to be internal. This is huge. If the dopamine is associated with an external reward, the dopamine will be then associated with that. Like we have to learn how to reward ourselves internally. So it's taking a moment and being like, oh, I did it. It feels so good. You're doing such a good job. And that helps to be in process. But otherwise, it's like, let's say you win you're in a sport and you win a championship and you start to associate that with like trophies. And then you don't get the trophy. You're not going to have as high of a dopamine response as if you were to just feel the celebration of that win. So how can you just pause? For me, I love to check things off of a list. Like that feels really rewarding for me. So like, okay, check, file the LLC, check, have the email address, check, reached out to the web designer. And then you stop and you're like, okay, I'm on my path. Good job. I'm doing it. And you feel really, really good. Kabibi, where am I shying away from useful agitation? Yes. New journal entry. I'm not wrong when I'm feeling agitation. Nothing's wrong. It's my biology. It's my nervous system. It's just the way that it is. All right. What questions do you all have? Oh, my husband's calling me because I think he's with my baby. If you don't know, this is the longest I've been away from my little one. He's traveling with my husband to see family. And yeah, it's so hard. A part of me loves being solo, like, but then it's so weird because I feel like a little part of my body is like in a different state. And I just don't, I'm like disoriented. So I'm excited. I'll be able to video chat my little babe and my hubby after this. I do want to talk to, if you guys don't have any questions, about something called the compound effect. So there's a book called The Compound Effect, and I gobbled this book up. I loved it so much. I love lists. I really do. They help me feel organized and structured. And I love scheduling. Like I love having a calendar. I love organization, just in my personality. So with the compound effect is this idea that you take really small habits every single day or as regular as you can, and that eventually they compound into something really big. An example of this in the book they gave, I don't think this is the exact example, I can't remember it, but let's say there's two friends. One friend decides, I'm going to loosen up a bit and, go out for happy hour, have a couple of drinks twice a week. Not a big deal. And they also put a big screen TV in their living room and just watch a little bit of TV every night. And the other friend decides, I'm going to read for 10 minutes, something inspirational every morning, and drink this much water every day, and no longer have like cut out my morning pastry every morning. So in the first 18 months, they're both the same, like nothing changes. You can't see anything visible. They're both the same weight, they're both the same health, their marriages are both the same. But at the 18th month mark, okay, exhibit one, where added the beer, the TV, gained a ton of weight, became very unhealthy, and that lifestyle rippled into the marriage and started to affect the marriage in a negative way. Exhibit two is that more healthy habits ended up getting very fit, very healthy, and positively influencing the marriage. Like they were thriving, their intimacy, their romance. The point is, it didn't happen for 18 months. This is a year and a half. So I was really inspired by this because these small changes that can take a good amount of effort to remember, this video is about behavior first. It's like when you just do it without the reward of it right away, knowing that eventually there'll be a compound effect. That's a different way to approach this rather than it's all about this moment and how I'm feeling in this moment. Like there's actually a bit of grit in doing a little something every day. So I took this and now I'm doing my words for this year. I picked 3 words for every year. One of them was nourishment. And nourishment and glow were 2 of them. So part of that is I'm a new mother, right? So I'm trying to replenish my system from all of the efforting it had to do to hold life and then postpartum, breastfeeding and everything. So re-nourishing my body is really important. And then building, like I felt like I wasn't sleeping, so I had dark circles under my eyes and like at least I felt like it. I don't know. I just wanted to like feel like I was glowing and nourished again. So I have these little goals in place according to that. Like for example, it's to do my gua sha face ritual 3 times a week, to do exfoliating on my face 3 times a week. Daily, I have a red light mask. I do that daily. I take collagen every single day now. I have a face routine with my moisturizer, my vitamin C, things like that. But I created a structure and then I have this like chart in my planner and I check it off. And though I'm not quite seeing, it's not like I'm going to see the effects of collagen, um, like within even the first month, right? But slowly over time, that will compound to have glowing skin or like starting to wear sunscreen every day, even though I'm in Minnesota and it's often cloudy and rainy, it's now a habit of mine. So this is an example of the compound effect, and things can compound negatively. So an example of that would be I've always loved pastries. Like I love a muffin, I love a scone. It's like the thing that I love. So I would have like a muffin every day. And it's not a big deal but kind of because it's sugar. So I'm like every now and then to have a pastry is fine, but is that something I want to compound negatively over time? And especially after I was pregnant, I had really bad sugar cravings and that never stopped. So I've been looking at my compound negative habits as well and just trying to cut that out. So if I can cut out a muffin 5 times a week and only have it 2 times a week, think of how many days of the year I'm not and how much sugar that is over a year. So I think this is a really interesting idea. Uh, I'm very curious with the compound effect with regards to building momentum to escape a symptomatic state. Can seem confusing when doing more seems to make your symptoms worse. I'm not sure about your situation. So if you want to elaborate, you're welcome to. Doing more seems to make your symptoms worse. Then maybe the compound is to do less. How do you create a feeling of safety around something like money? Well, that's such a big question. Yeah. When I think about that, and I'm not a money coach, so I don't want to go too much into this, but I think feeling into like what does safety feel like in your body? So safety to me feels like my shoulders soften out of my ears. It feels like my belly is relaxed, like I can breathe into my diaphragm. It feels like I'm warm. And then associating like when you receive money, when you have money, when you're visualizing yourself having money, evoke those sensations in your body. I think that would be so then you're feeling an embodied state of safety when you're visualizing money, when you're holding money, when you receive your paycheck, when you get a new client. I'm feeling the effect of the compound effect with my health. At first, I just started by not eating fast food. Now I'm doing a lot of things for my health, and it's been fun. Yes, that's what I'm talking about, Jessica. It's crazy. It can start so simple. That's why I love it. And they gave the example too of like going to the gym. Like maybe you don't do 5 days a week at the gym if you want to start strength training. Maybe you start with just buying gym shoes. That's your first day. The second day, you put your gym shoes on and you walk out to the car and you drive to the gym and then you drive home. And then the second, you're building these neural pathways slowly, but at least you're propelling towards something that you want to build and compound later. And then the next time you go into the gym and you look at the equipment. Now, you want to talk about agitation. I started strength training at the gym, and for me, it was a huge agitation because I didn't know how to use any of the machines. It was super intimidating. And it was definitely a learning curve for me to learn about the machines, learn the reps, learn my weights. I had one session with a trainer to help me, and she wrote down some things for me. I bought an online program to help too. But now when I go to the gym and do strength training, I know what I need to do, and it's easy. And I can listen to a podcast, and it's relaxing, and I have my routine. And now it's just set, and I go 3 times a week, and that will compound over time to influence a strong body, but it's not going to happen in the first 2 weeks. You're not going to see it. So you have to be able to see the small wins. Yeah, another example is I'm trying to build some like neck strength because I'm always looking down at my babe. And so part of it is now when I'm at the gym, part of my wind down routine is I lay on my back and do 10 neck lifts. And I know it sounds crazy. Like I think I started with just doing 5, and now I slowly have upped it. But the point is to be okay with just doing 5. Just do it. Do something. Do something that puts you on the path to do the thing that you want to do. And trust that when doing that over a set period of time, even though it takes discipline, that it will compound into something bigger. If you think of your daily habits, the small things that you do, think of how many days there are in a year and how many years we live. That will add up. So not eating fast food, for example, like, okay, if you're someone who eats fast food 4 days of the week and that doesn't feel good in your body, stopping that and maybe going down to 1 day a week, that makes a huge difference. Think of how many days that is in a year. So I love this. It's like looking at the behavior of what we're doing. Just me putting on sunscreen, finally, I mean, I put sunscreen on if I went to the beach or something, but daily now I'm putting on sunscreen. That's going to compound in a really big way in the next several years, even though right now I'm not really noticing the effects. Okay. Anything else? I hope this was helpful for you all. So actually, I'm going to be going live at 7. So, like in about 30 minutes, I'm going to be doing a stretching and breathing class. So, if you want to join, come prepared with some clothes that you feel like you can move in and something warm to, for when we rest, cover yourself with, maybe pillows. You don't have to have a mat. You can just do it on carpet if you want to. It'll be a really relaxed class. You'll feel so good afterwards. So, okay. Well, thank you so much. If you want to know more about the nervous system, I have a course called The Nervous System of a Goddess, which I have pinned to this chat. Please check it out. You get to learn about the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, learn how it relates to feminine energy, and ultimately how to shift out of survival mode. If you want support, know that I do offer this sort of support and coaching, even though it's not often what I talk about. I love creating goals. I obviously love the micro goals too, and obviously holding the support for the nervous system and moving towards something and incorporating rest in that too. So there's in the description, you'll see a link to my 3-session coaching package. You're welcome to just sign up for that right away, and I'll be in touch with you to schedule. Otherwise, if you want more of a longer term coaching, you can go to my website and there's an application there, and we can have a connection call and see if it's a good fit. But I so appreciate all of you. And thanks again, Kabibi, for that first super chat. That was a really exciting moment for me. And I hope to see you all in my lives over the next coming days. Bye.